The planet New Busan was beautiful in the morning light. Green fields stretched across the valleys. Small towns dotted the landscape. Children played in schoolyards while farmers worked their land. 80,000 humans called this world home. They had built something good here, something peaceful. Lieutenant Kim Yuna stood at her station aboard the battleship Indomitable, running routine communication checks. The ship floated through the darkness of space, far from any conflict, far from any danger. It was a quiet day. She liked quiet days. The Velthari Dominion had ruled this part of the galaxy for 1,000 years. They were tall beings with gray skin and 4 arms. They believed themselves superior to all other species. Humans were nothing to them, just another minor race. Farmers and traders with a few small warships. When the Velthari demanded tribute from New Busan, the colony refused. They were a free people. They answered to Earth, not to alien empires. The colonial governor sent a polite but firm message declining the demand. High Commander Thalos received this message in his command ship. He read it twice, then he smiled. These humans needed a lesson, okay? All the minor races needed to see what happened when someone said no to the Dominion. He gave the order. 17. Velthari warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel above New Busan. They did not send warnings. They did not negotiate. They simply opened fire. The bombardment lasted 17 minutes. When it ended, nothing remained. The green fields were black and burning. The towns were craters. The schools were dust. 80,000 voices went silent forever. Across the galaxy, aboard the Indomitable, Yuna's communication panel lit up with an emergency signal. She processed it automatically, then froze. Her blood turned cold. She read the words 3 times, hoping they would change. They did not change. She walked to Admiral Park Do-won's ready room on shaking legs. The Admiral was a tall man with gray hair and kind eyes. He had served humanity for 40 years. He was respected throughout the fleet for his calm wisdom and fair leadership. His wife and 2 daughters lived on New Busan. They had moved there 3 years ago, wanting a peaceful life away from the dangers of space. He called them every week. His youngest daughter was learning to paint. His wife was teaching music at the local school. Yuna handed him the report. She could not speak. Words would not come. Admiral Park read the message. His face did not change at first. He read it again. Then something happened behind his eyes. Yuna saw it clearly. Something broke inside him. The warmth disappeared. The kindness faded. What replaced it was cold, absolute, terrifying. He sat in silence for a long time. Yuna did not move. She barely breathed. When the Admiral finally spoke, his voice was steady, too steady, like ice that would never melt. "Get me a secure channel to Earth Command," he said. "Priority Alpha." Yuna rushed to obey. Within minutes, the Admiral was speaking to the highest military leaders of humanity. They offered their condolences. They spoke of diplomatic options. They talked about measured responses and careful negotiations. Admiral Park listened to all of it. Then he spoke 4 sentences that changed human history. "I am invoking Protocol 17. I am taking the 7th Fleet into Velthari space. Any ship that wishes to follow may do so. The Velthari will learn what humanity becomes when we stop being afraid." Protocol 17 had never been used before. He gave a fleet commander complete authority in times of extreme crisis. It was meant for situations where humanity itself was threatened. Some argued it did not apply here. Admiral Park did not care about arguments. Within hours, messages began arriving from across human space. Colony worlds pledged their ships. Captains volunteered their crews. 17 worlds committed their entire defense fleets to follow Admiral Park, then 20 worlds, and 30. The news of New Busan spread like fire. Humans everywhere felt the same cold rage. These were not soldiers or politicians. These were ordinary people, farmers, teachers, children, murdered without warning, without reason. Velthari had made a terrible mistake. They thought destroying one small colony would frighten humanity into submission. Thought humans would see the power of the Dominion and bow their heads. They did not understand humans at all. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Una watched her admiral transform. The kind man she had served under for 3 years was gone. In his place stood something harder, something focused on a single purpose. She found herself thinking about the stories her grandmother used to tell. Old stories from Earth, from Korea, from a time before humans reached the stars. Stories about what happened when peaceful people were pushed too far, about the terrible patience of those who had nothing left to lose. The fleet began to gather. 1 ship became 10. 10 became 50. 50 became 100. They came from mining colonies and agricultural worlds. They came from space stations and orbital platforms, old ships and new ships, military vessels and converted freighters. They came because they were angry. They came because they were human. Admiral Park stood before a holographic display showing the growing fleet. His face revealed nothing, but Una noticed his hands. They were steady, completely steady, the hands of a man who had already made his choice and would not turn back. "Sir," she said quietly, "the Velthari have 1,000 warships. They have ruled this region for 1,000 years. Some people are saying this is suicide." The admiral did not look at her. His eyes remained fixed on the display. "The Velthari see us as weak," he said. "They see farmers and traders. They see a young species not worth their attention. They killed 80,000 people to make a point." He paused. "Now we will make a point of our own." "What point is that, sir?" Finally, he turned to face her. His eyes were dark and deep, like looking into the void between stars. "That human lives have weight. That our dead demand answer. The galaxy will learn to respect us, or they will learn to fear us." His voice dropped lower. "I would prefer respect, but I will accept fear." The fleet continued to grow. 300 ships, 320, 340. Across the galaxy, the Velthari Dominion celebrated their victory over the minor human colony. High Commander Thalos received commendations. The Galactic Assembly noted the incident and moved on to other business. No one paid attention to the human fleet gathering in the darkness. No one noticed the shadows beginning to move. The Great Hall of Earth's High Council had never been so loud. Representatives from every human world shouted over each other. Some demanded war. Others called for peace. The noise echoed off the ancient walls like thunder, Captain. Captain Lee Sora stood in the corner, watching the chaos. She was a tactical officer, not a politician. She did not belong here. But Admiral Park had sent her to coordinate with Earth Command. And so here she stood. Her brother had been a teacher on New Busan. He taught mathematics to children. He had sent her a message just 2 days before the attack, talking about a student who had finally understood fractions. He was proud of that student. Now, he was Ash.Sor, kept her face blank. She had learned long ago to hide her feelings. Feelings did not win battles. Planning won battles. Preparation won battles. Cold, careful thinking won battles. The council elder finally restored order. An old woman with white hair and sharp eyes, she commanded respect without raising her voice. "Admiral Park has invoked Protocol 17, she said. 340 ships have joined his fleet. He is moving toward Velthari space. We must decide how to respond." A representative from the Mars colonies stood up. "This is madness. The Velthari have 1,000 warships. We cannot win a direct war against them. We should negotiate. Pay the tribute. Save what lives we can." Shouts erupted again. Some agreed. Many did not. Sora stepped forward. The room fell silent. Everyone knew who she was. Everyone knew about her brother. "The Velthari killed 80,000 civilians," she said. Her voice was calm and clear. "They did this because we refused to pay tribute. If we pay now, they will demand more. And when we refuse again, they will kill more of us. This will never end until we make it end." She pulled up a holographic display. "I have analyzed Velthari military doctrine. They rely on overwhelming force and fear. They expect enemies to surrender or run. They have never faced an opponent who would not do either." The elder nodded slowly. "What do you propose?" "Support Admiral Park. Send everything we have. Not because we want war, but because the only way to prevent future wars is to show the galaxy that attacking humans has a price no one wants to pay. The debate continued for hours. In the end, the council voted to support the fleet. Every available ship would join Admiral Park. Every resource would be committed to the campaign. Sora returned to the fleet with authorization codes and supply manifests. The real work was just beginning. Across the galaxy, the Velthari Dominion finally noticed the human activity. Reports reached High Commander Thalos that a human fleet was gathering near his borders. He read the reports and laughed. 300 ships. He said to his officers, "We have 1,000. Let them come. We will destroy them as easily as we destroyed their pathetic colony." His officers laughed with him. The idea of humans threatening the Dominion was absurd. They were a young species. They had only been traveling between stars for a few centuries. The Dominion had ruled for 1,000 years. The Velthari ambassador addressed the Galactic Assembly the next day. Other species had asked about the human fleet. Rumors were spreading. Some were concerned. The ambassador smiled his wide gray smile. "The humans are upset about their colony," he said. "This is understandable. They are an emotional species, but they will calm down. They will remember their place. What can they do against the might of the Dominion? Throw grain at us?" The assembly laughed. The matter was dismissed. On the edge of Velthari space, Admiral Park addressed his captains through a fleet-wide communication. 340 faces looked back at him from holographic displays. Young faces, old faces, scared faces, angry faces. "You know why we are here?" he said. "You know what was done to New Busan, to our people, to our families?" He paused, letting the weight of those words settle. "The Velthari believe we are weak. They believe we are afraid. They believe we will run or surrender when we see their strength." His voice hardened. "They are wrong. We're not here for revenge. Revenge is burning. Revenge is rage without purpose. We are here for something more important. We are here to teach the galaxy a lesson it will never forget. Human lives matter. Human worlds are not to be touched. Human people are not to be harmed. Any species that forgets this lesson will be reminded. Any empire that threatens us will face the consequences." He looked directly into the camera, and every captain felt like he was speaking only to them. They wanted us afraid. They wanted us quiet. Instead, they woke something older, something patient, something that remembers every wound. Today we show them what that something can do. The communication ended. Across 340 ships, crews prepared for battle. Engineers checked systems. Gunners loaded weapons. Pilots ran simulations. Captain Sora stood on the bridge of the cruiser Righteous Fire, studying tactical displays. The Velthari had a massive border fortress called Kethro's Station. Any normal attack would have to go through it. The station's shields could withstand a supernova. Its weapons could destroy a moon, Admiral. Park had no intention of attacking it directly. She reviewed the navigation data one more time. The route they planned to use was considered impossible by galactic standards. An unstable wormhole that shifted and twisted unpredictably. Ships that entered usually did not come out, but humans had been mapping these impossible routes for decades. Quietly, secretly, building a network of paths that no one else knew existed. The Velthari would expect them at Kethro's Station. They would wait there with their mighty fortress and their confident smiles. They would wait for a very long time. Sora allowed herself a small smile. The first one since she learned about her brother. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of a hunter who sees the trap closing around her prey. The fleet moved forward into the darkness. 340 ships carrying the anger of humanity. Moving in silence, moving with purpose. The storm was coming, and the Velthari had no idea what was about to hit them. Navigator Cho Yunji had guided ships through difficult space for 15 years. She had flown through asteroid fields and radiation storms. She had navigated black hole gravity wells and solar flares. None of that compared to what she was about to do. The unstable wormhole hung in space before them. shifting and twisting like a living thing. Its edges flickered between blue and violet. Energy crackled across its surface. Every scanner on the ship screamed warnings. "The wormhole is shifting faster than our models predicted," her assistant said, voice tight with fear. "If we enter now, we might not come out." Yonji studied the readings. Her fingers moved across the controls, making tiny adjustments. She had memorized this route. Every twist, every turn, every dangerous current. Human explorers had died mapping these paths. Their sacrifice would not be wasted. "We will come out," she said calmly. "Trust the data. Trust the plan." Behind her ship, 339 vessels waited in formation. Every navigator in the fleet had received the same training, the same data, the same route. They would follow her through, or they would die trying. Admiral Park's voice came through the communication system. "Navigator Cho, the fleet is ready. Take us through." Yunji took a deep breath. "Yes, sir. All ships, follow my exact path. Do not deviate. Not by a single degree." She pushed the throttle forward. The wormhole swallowed her ship like a hungry mouth. Space twisted around them. Colors that should not exist flashed past the viewports. The ship shook violently. Alarms screamed. Crew members grabbed whatever they could hold. Yunji's hands never stopped moving, adjusting course, compensating for drift, reading the chaos, and finding patterns within it. Her mind worked faster than any computer, processing data through instinct and experience. 30 seconds passed, then 60, then 90. The ship burst out of the wormhole into calm space. Youngji let out a breath she did not know she was holding. Behind her, ship after ship emerged from the chaos. 340 vessels, all accounted for. Not a single one lost. They had done the impossible, and they had emerged. Directly behind Kethro's station, the mighty fortress floated in the distance, facing the wrong direction. Its shields and weapons pointed toward where they expected the humans to come from. Its supply lines stretched out behind it, completely unprotected. Admiral Park allowed himself a brief smile. Cut their supply lines. Surround the station. And open a communication channel. The Velthari commander of Kethro's station was named Vorith. He was a veteran of many campaigns, confident in his fortress and his power. When human ships appeared behind him, he thought it was a sensor error. When he realized it was real, he could not understand how it was possible. This is Admiral Park Doan of the United Earth Fleet, a human voice said through his communication system. "You are surrounded. Your supply lines are cut. You have two choices. Surrender peacefully, or watch your station become your tomb." Vorith laughed, though his voice shook slightly. "You cannot penetrate our shields. You cannot match our firepower. This is a bluff." "It is not a bluff," the Admiral replied. "We do not need to penetrate your shields. We simply need to wait." How long can 40,000 soldiers survive without food? Without water? Without fuel? The communication ended. Vorith stared at his tactical display. The human ships were not attacking. They were simply sitting there, blocking every route in and out of the system. He ordered a breakout attempt. 3 Velthari cruisers tried to punch through the human lines. They were destroyed in minutes. The humans did not even break formation. 6 hours later, Kethro's station surrendered. Lieutenant Kim Yuna was part of the team that boarded the station. She expected resistance. She expected traps. Instead, she found 40,000 Velthari soldiers standing in neat rows, weapons on the ground, waiting. They looked confused, scared. Some of them were barely adults. The human soldiers secured the station efficiently. No one was harmed. Medical teams treated wounded Velthari. Food and water were distributed. Prisoners were processed with care and respect. Yuna found herself standing across from a Velthari officer. He was young, with pale gray skin and nervous eyes. His name was Keleth. "Why are you not torturing us?" He asked. The question was genuine. "We killed your people. We destroyed your colony. Why do you give us food and medicine?" Yuna looked at him for a long moment. She thought about New Busan, about the 80,000 dead. about the anger that burned in her chest every moment of every day. "'Cause we are not monsters," she said finally. "We are just very, very angry." Keleth stared at her like she was speaking a language he did not understand. "The Dominion teaches that the strong take what they want," he said slowly. "That mercy is weakness. That kindness is foolishness. You have the strength to hurt us. Why do you not use it?" "Because strength without control is not strength at all," Una replied. "It is just violence. We are here to prove that humans are strong. Not that humans are cruel." She walked away, leaving Keleth to think about her words. Word of Kethros. Station spread through Velthary space faster than any ship could travel. The impossible fortress had fallen without a single shot fired. 40,000 soldiers were prisoners, but they were being treated well. Better than Velthary prisoners treated each other. The Dominion commanders could not understand it. They had prepared for savagery. They had expected humans to burn and kill and destroy. That was what they would have done. That was what any strong species did. Instead, the humans showed them something they had never seen before. Power that did not need to prove itself through cruelty. Strength that could choose mercy. It frightened them more than any weapon could have. Admiral Park stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, watching the captured station through the viewport. His face remained cold. His eyes remained dark. But somewhere deep inside, a small voice whispered that his wife would have approved. She had always believed in showing kindness even to enemies. He pushed the thought away. There was still work to do. "Set course for the next target," he ordered. "The Velthary learning is just beginning." The fleet moved forward, deeper into enemy territory. Behind them, Kethros station stood captured and quiet. A message to the galaxy that humans had arrived, and they fought like nothing the universe had ever seen. The campaign would later be called the 40 Days. Historians would write books about it. Military academies would study it for centuries. But for those who lived through it, there were no grand names. There was only the endless work of war. Chief Engineer Beek Jiwoo had not slept in 3 days. Her hands were burned from plasma leaks. Her eyes ached from staring at repair diagrams. The cruiser Hammer of Dawn had taken heavy damage in the last engagement, and only she could fix it. "The power coupling is fused," her assistant reported. Standard repair would take 2 weeks at a shipyard. Jiwoo studied the damaged component. 2 weeks. They had 2 hours before the fleet moved again. "Get me a stabilizer coil from the secondary weapons array," she said, "and find some conductive gel." "I have an idea." Her assistant looked doubtful. "That is not how power couplings work. It's how they work now." 30 minutes later, the Hammer of Dawn powered up successfully. Jiwoo had created something that no engineering manual described. Something that Velthary engineers would later call insane but effective. This was how humans won battles. The fleet pushed deeper into Velthary space. They did not burn worlds. They did not slaughter civilians. They targeted military installations, supply depots, and communication networks. Each strike was precise. Each victory was calculated. The Velthary had never faced an enemy like this. Their doctrine relied on overwhelming force and terror. They expected enemies to fight the same way. When enemies did not, they had no plan. Captain Lee Sora stood before a holographic map, studying the patterns of Velthary movement. She had not slept much either. Her eyes were red but sharp. Her mind worked constantly, finding weaknesses, predicting responses. "They are gathering their fleet at the Crimson Nebula," she reported to Admiral Park. "High Commander Thalos himself has taken command. They plan to stop us there." The Admiral nodded slowly. "How many ships?" "Over 1,000. 3 times our number." "And the nebula itself?" Sora allowed herself a small smile. "The nebula emits high levels of radiation. It disrupts sensors and communications. The Velthary see it as a defensive position. They plan to use its cover to ambush us. In your assessment, they are wrong. The radiation works both ways. If we enter the nebula from multiple angles, they will not see us coming until we are already on top of them. Their numbers mean nothing if they cannot coordinate." Admiral Park studied the map for a long moment. His face revealed nothing. But Sora knew he was thinking about every ship, every crew member, every life that rested on his decisions. "Prepare the battle plan," he said finally. "We end this at the Crimson Nebula." High Commander Thalos was confident as he waited. He had gathered the largest Velthri fleet in a century. Over 1,000 warships, bristling with weapons, crewed by veteran soldiers. The humans had been lucky so far. Their luck would end here. He had studied the human campaign. He did not understand it. They could have destroyed stations and colonies. They could have killed millions. Instead, they treated prisoners kindly. They spared civilians. They fought with strange restraint. Talos saw this as weakness, softness. The humans were too gentle for real war. They would break against the might of the Dominion. The human fleet appeared on sensors, approaching from the expected direction. Thalos smiled. Finally, they would fight like normal enemies. He gave the order to advance. His fleet entered the Crimson Nebula, spreading out to trap the humans. The radiation washed over their sensors, reducing visibility to short range. But Thalos was not worried. He knew where the humans were coming from, except the humans were not there. The ships he had detected were decoys. Empty vessels running on automatic, broadcasting false signals. While Talos focused on them, the real human fleet entered the nebula. From 6 different directions, they came out of the radiation like ghosts. Captain Sora coordinated the attack. From the Bridge of Righteous Fire, her orders came rapid and precise. Strike teams hit Velthri command ships. Bomber squadrons targeted engine systems. Fighter screens drew fire away from the main fleet. The Velthri tried to respond, but the radiation scattered their communications. Ships could not coordinate. Commanders could not find their squadrons. The massive fleet that should have crushed the humans became a confused mass. Firing blindly at shadows, Admiral Park led the main assault himself. The Indomitable cut through Velthri formations like a knife through paper. Its weapons fired constantly, each shot precise. Each target chosen carefully. Navigator Choyunji guided the flagship through the chaos with perfect calm. The nebula shifted and swirled around them. Radiation crackled against the hull. Lesser pilots would have crashed a dozen times. Yonji found paths through the storm that should not have existed. Engineer Beekju kept the ship running through damage that should have been fatal. She rerouted power around destroyed systems. She sealed breaches with emergency patches. She refused to let the Indomitable fall. Lieutenant Kim Yuna coordinated communications between the scattered human forces. In the chaos of the nebula, normal signals were impossible. She developed new patterns, new codes, new ways of staying connected. The human fleet operated as one while the Velthri fell apart. The battle lasted 9 hours when it ended. Over 800 Velthri warships were destroyed or disabled. High Commander Thalos escaped with only 12 vessels. 12 ships from a fleet of over 1,000. The human fleet had lost 97 ships, almost a third of their force. It was a heavy price, but they had won. Thalos fled toward the Velthri homeworld, sending desperate messages ahead. The impossible had happened. The minor species had defeated the might of the Dominion. The humans were coming. The Galactic Assembly watched in stunned silence. Species that had dismissed humanity now sent urgent diplomatic messages. Empires that had ignored human existence suddenly wanted to talk. Admiral Park allowed the fleet 2 days to rest and repair. 2 days for the crews to sleep, to mourn their dead, to prepare for what came next. On the second night, Yuna found the Admiral standing alone in an observation room. He was looking at the stars. His face was tired, older than she had ever seen it. "We won," she said softly. "We survived," he corrected. "Winning comes later. What happens now?" The Admiral turned to face her. His eyes were still cold, still dark. But somewhere beneath the ice, she thought she saw something else. Something that might have been hope. Now we finish what we started. Now we go to Veltheris Prime. And now we show the galaxy who humanity really is. The fleet moved forward once more. Wounded but unbroken. Tired but determined. The shadow of humanity fell across the stars. The people of Veltheris Prime had never known fear. For 1,000 years, their fleets had protected them. Their armies had conquered all who opposed them. They were the rulers of the region, the masters of space. The unquestioned power of the galaxy. Then the human fleet arrived. 243 warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel above the homeworld. They spread across the sky in perfect formation. Their hulls were scarred from battle. Their weapons were charged and ready. Citizens looked up from their cities and saw only shadows. The human ships blocked out the stars themselves. The light of Valtheris Prime's sun dimmed behind the dark shapes of the fleet. Panic spread through the streets. Emergency sirens wailed. Military commanders scrambled to organize defenses that did not exist. High Commander Thalos had taken the main fleet to the Crimson Nebula. He had promised victory. He had delivered disaster. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Admiral Park Dewan looked down at the planet below. Billions of lives rested in his hands. Billions of beings who had nothing to do with New Busan, who had never harmed a single human, who were simply citizens of an empire ruled by monsters. He thought about his wife. She had been a musician. She believed in the beauty of life, in the power of art and kindness. She would have been horrified by war. She would have hated seeing him become this cold, hard thing, but she would have understood. She had understood him better than anyone. "Open a channel," he said quietly. "Broadcast to the entire planet." Lieutenant Kim Yuna made the connection. Every screen on Valtheris Prime flickered. Every speaker crackled. Every citizen stopped to listen. Admiral Park's face appeared before them. Gray hair, tired eyes, the face of a man who had lost everything and gained only revenge. He spoke in a voice that carried no anger, no rage, only cold, absolute certainty. "I am Admiral Park Dewan of the United Earth Fleet. 43 days ago, your empire destroyed the colony of New Busan. 80,000 humans died. Men, women, and children. Teachers and farmers. Families who wanted only to live in peace." He paused, letting the words settle. "My wife was among them. My daughters. My entire world." On the planet below, silence fell. Even the panic stopped. Even the sirens went quiet. "I have come here with 200 ships. I could destroy your world in a single day. I could kill billions of you with a single command. I could turn your cities to glass and ash exactly as you did to ours." Captain Lee Sora watched her admiral speak. Her hands gripped the console in front of her. Her knuckles were white. Part of her wanted him to give the order. Part of her wanted to burn Valtheris Prime to nothing. Her brother's face haunted her dreams. His last message still sat unread in her personal files. But she said nothing. This was the admiral's moment. This was his choice. Admiral Park continued. "But I will not, because that is not who we are. That is not who humanity is." On the planet below, confusion spread. The Velthari had expected destruction. They had prepared for death. They did not understand mercy. "We came here to show you what humanity is capable of, both our wrath and our mercy. You have seen our wrath. You have watched your fleets burn. You have seen your mighty fortress surrender. You have learned that humans do not break. We do not bow. We do not forget." He leaned forward slightly. His eyes seemed to look directly at every person on the planet. "Now see our mercy. We will not destroy you. We will not burn your cities. We will not kill your children to pay for ours. That is what you would do. That is what your empire has always done. We are different. Remember this day. Remember the shadows across your sky. Remember how close you came to extinction. And know that if you ever harm another human colony, we will return. And next time, we will not stop at your doorstep." The transmission ended. The screens went dark. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the government of Valtheris Prime began to communicate. They asked for terms. They offered surrender. The negotiations took 3 days. The Dominion agreed to pay reparations to the families of New Busan. Every family would receive enough money to live comfortably for generations. High Commander Thalos was arrested and handed over to a joint tribunal for war crimes. He would spend the rest of his life in a prison cell. The Velthari military was reduced to a defensive force only. They would never threaten human space again. Trade agreements were signed. Diplomatic relations were established. But most importantly, the galaxy watched. Every empire, every species, every power that had ever considered humanity a minor race, a weak people, a species not worth respecting, they watched humans win a war they should have lost. They watched humans show mercy when they had every right to destroy. They watched humanity become something new in the galactic order. Not conquerors, not tyrants, but guardians, protectors, a species that would not start wars, but would finish them. On the final day before the fleet departed, Lieutenant Yuna found Admiral Park alone in his quarters. He was looking at a hologram. His wife smiled at him from the image. His daughters waved. A frozen moment of happiness from before everything changed. Was it worth it? Yuna asked softly. The Admiral did not turn off the hologram. He stared at the faces he would never see again. They are still gone, he said. His voice cracked slightly. The first crack she had ever heard. Nothing will change that. Nothing will bring them back. He finally turned to face her. His eyes were wet. The ice had melted just a little. Just for this moment, maybe now. No other father will get a message like I did. Maybe no other children will die because some empire thought humans were weak. Maybe now, the galaxy knows that human lives have weight. Yuna nodded slowly. She understood. Revenge would not have healed anything, but protection might. Prevention might. Making sure it never happened again that was worth something? What happens now? She asked. Admiral Park looked out at the stars. The fleet waited for him. Earth waited. Humanity waited. Now we go home. We rebuild. We remember. Paused. And we make sure the galaxy never forgets. The fleet departed Valtheris Prime. The shadows lifted from the sky. Light returned to the planet. But the people of Valtheris would tell stories about that day for generations. The day the humans came. The day the shadows blocked out the stars. The day they learned that the small species they had dismissed was not small at all, years later. The Galactic Assembly issued a report. No species had attacked a human colony since Valtheris Prime. Human ships patrolled the borders, keeping watch. Other empires treated humanity with respect. Not because they were afraid, not because they were forced, but because they had learned what humans were capable of. Destruction and creation, wrath and mercy, the capacity for both great violence and great kindness, and in the darkness between worlds. Wherever human ships traveled, their shadows still lingered. A reminder, a warning, a promise.